Hello everyone, welcome to another lecture of the gender studies. In this video, we will study about the multidisciplinary nature of gender studies. Although we have already given a slight touch to this topic in our previous lecture of difference between gender studies and women's studies, but in this lecture, we will study the multidisciplinary nature of gender studies in detail. Let's start this lecture now. First of all, what do we mean by multidisciplinary? From the word multidisciplinary, we mean crossing the boundary of a particular discipline. If you are crossing the discipline, you are multidisciplinary. And if you are staying within a particular discipline, then you are interdisciplinary in nature. Analysis and understanding of the nature of a field of study is as important as its existence. Basically, it helps us in understanding what the subject is about and what we will get to know after studying it. Just keep in mind that a multidisciplinary field of study is that in which people from different backgrounds having specialization in different fields of study work together and produce a combined field of science and piece of work. In multidisciplinary field, each person is drawing knowledge and theories of new field based on his own disciplinary knowledge. In simple words, it is the combination of and involvement of different academic disciplines and professionals in an approach to a problem or a topic. Gender studies is a field of social science that deals with understanding and analyzing the social, cultural, and biological setup of gender in society. So, understanding the nature of the gender studies is as important as its study itself. Multidisciplinary nature of gender studies. Multidisciplinary gender studies means that it crosses the boundary of its own discipline and goes to different disciplines like economics, biology, and others. We study gender not only in the domain of social science, but we study gender in the broader perspective by studying its various aspects in other disciplines also. So we can see that gender studies is basically a subject of social science, but when we study the body structure of a gender, then it goes under the umbrella of biology, which is basically a subject of natural science. So in this way, we say that gender studies is multidisciplinary in nature because it goes outside of its discipline's boundaries. Gender exists everywhere. Gender exists everywhere, whether it is history, science, languages, social sciences, and our hard sciences. They all can study gender studies because gender is the part and parcel of everybody's life. They can take gender studies as a minor subject. They can study gender studies from their own perspectives. So it doesn't matter that one is the main of which subject. He can study gender studies from his own perspective. So we can say that gender studies exists everywhere as gender exists everywhere. Now we will take examples of some disciplines under which we can study the gender studies to prove or complement that gender studies is basically a multidisciplinary in nature. First of all, sociology. Sociology is the main discipline under which we study the gender studies. Under sociology, we study gender studies to see that how society gives different genders and how understanding of different gender developed in society. As sociology refers to social behavior, society, patterns of social relationships, social interaction, and culture that surrounds everyday life, it is a social science that uses various methods of empirical investigation and critical analysis to develop a body of knowledge about social order or social change. All these aspects which come under the subject of sociology revolve around genders. As society is all about the social animals, men and women, which are basically the different genders. In this way, we study gender studies under sociology. Second one is anthropology. Anthropology is the scientific study of humanity concerned with human behavior, human biology and societies in both the present and past, including past human species. Social anthropology studies patterns of behavior, while cultural anthropology studies cultural meaning, including norms and values. Under this discipline, we can study gender studies as how different genders evolved through history. As we mentioned that human is the focused point in the anthropology, so gender studies becomes directly relevant to this discipline also. Third one is psychology. Psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. Psychology includes many subfields of studies such as human development, sports, health, clinical, social behavior, and cognitive processes. Under psychology, we can study gender studies to understand human nature and particularly the human nature of sexuality. In this way, gender studies is also linked with psychology. Fourth one is biology. This discipline can help in developing the understanding regarding the biological difference between different genders. As we have mentioned that the gender studies is purely based on different genders and it is the subject biology in which we determine the difference between different genders. So when we study the biological difference between genders in gender studies, then we basically study gender studies under the umbrella of biology. In this way, gender studies is linked with biology like it is linked with all the other subjects. Keep in mind that biology is the subject of natural sciences and gender studies is the subject of social sciences, but still gender studies is closely linked with biology. So these are the different disciplines under which we study gender studies. We mentioned just 4 disciplines here. Gender studies is relevant to all the other disciplines also. So the focus of other discipline on gender studies and the relation of gender studies with other disciplines makes gender studies a multidisciplinary in nature. Gender studies is contributing in all these disciplines and all these disciplines are also contributing in gender studies. There are researches involving gender studies with other disciplines and also work is being done in other disciplines regarding gender studies. So these were some supporting facts which prove that gender studies is a multidisciplinary in nature. This was all about today's lecture. Gender studies will be covered in coming lectures. Thanks for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon for more videos. Goodbye.